Welcome to Everyday Decoding. This is part 12 of Cloud Storage Access through REST API. In this video, we are discuss on Google APIs and services. Intention to making this particular video. Previously, I have posted a particular video, Google Drive API version 3, enable and create client credential for application. Basically, this video is the upgrade version of this particular video. In this video, we will learn what is Google API project, how to enable APIs from Google API library, what is OAuth consent screen, authentication to Google API services. So first of all, you need to know what is Google API project. So when you click on this particular URL, this URL redirecting this particular page. You have seen this particular name, Project Rajdeep Sarkar. This is nothing but a project name. So a project is a collection of settings, credentials and metadata about the application or application you are working on. So just you click on this particular link. When you click on this particular link, you have to redirect on this particular page. This is the Google console dashboard. Basically those graphs represent what kind of APIs you are enable, what type of traffic you have faced through this particular API. Obviously you have created a particular application and those applications are access these Google APIs. What type of errors are occur. This is the error graph. This is the traffic graph, median latency graph. How many APIs you are using. Right now I am using Google Drive APIs and Gmail API. That's why those two APIs are listed here. Just go to the upper portion. You can see this project name, Project Rajdeep Sarkar. Just click on this particular arrow sign. You have seen this lot of project names are listed below. I have created a new project. Just click on this new project. See this particular notification. You have 6 projects remaining in your quota. Request and increase or delete projects. You have a permission to create total 12 projects on a particular single Gmail account. Previously created 6 projects and I have a remaining option to creating 6 projects. So total 12 projects we have to create on your a particular single Gmail account. Or if you have to increase your project limit, in that case you have to request to Google providers or you have to delete your Google projects and create a new one. So I just create a new project name, new project, and leave those specific option, location, just click on create. You can see this notification, new project is successfully created. You can see this project name. This is my previous project name. So I have to select my new project. So whenever you create a new project, everything you start from scratch. That means you need to enable your libraries, that means APIs, you need to enable all credentials, you need to enable OAuth consent screens. Each and every project is just like a one kind of grouping. Each group has own credential, own available libraries, own OAuth consent screen. So now I am go to my presentation. In the API console, a project is a collection of settings, credentials and metadata about the applications or application you are working on that. Make uses of Google APIs and Google Cloud Platform resources. The console is where you manage certain project tasks such as generating API credential, enabling APIs and managing team, billing information associated with your project. I just go to my next slide. Now you can see how to enable APIs from API library. So I just close my presentation and go to my browser. Just click on this particular library section. You have to see this, welcome to API library. API library is a collection of APIs. Those are provided by Google's. So you need to enable all those library as per your requirement. So if I have requirement is Gmail API, then I have to click on this particular Gmail API option and click on enable button. As soon as I click on this particular button, Gmail API option is enabled on this particular project, new project. Obviously you have to click on this particular option, disable API, if you want to disable this API from this particular project. This is the way you have to enable multiple APIs. Now I have to enable Google Drive API. Just click on enable button This particular API, that means Google Drive API, is enabled on this particular project, new project. Enable two APIs on this particular project. So I hope clear all those things. Just right now I am go to my presentation. Google has a huge collection of APIs. For example, Google Plus, Google Sheets, YouTube, Google Analytics, Gmails, Google Drives. You need to enable each and every APIs as per your requirement and use on your application. So how to use those APIs? So you need to create OAuth consent screen. So what is OAuth consent screen? Basically, this option is allow us to scope of application. If you have create a particular application and this application must be access Google resources. Suppose I have an application based on Google Drive API. My application need a specific type of permission. What type of user can access my application? So those type of informations are calculated on this particular section. In this case, what type of user access this application, OAuth rate limit, token grant limit. About this consent screen, the consent screens tell your user who is requesting access to their data and what kind of data you are asking to access. OAuth developer verification. To protect you and your users, your content screen may be need to be verified by Google. Without verification, your data will be seen as an additional page indicating that your app is not verified by Google. Those are things that are not make sense at this moment. Don't worry, I will explain each and everything. So I just go to my browser. Just go to the main menu and API and services section. Just go to the dashboard. You can see this specific option OAuth consent screen. Just click on this OAuth consent screen. First of all, choose how you want to configure and register your app, including your target users. You can only associate one app with your project. You can only associate one app with your project. So if I am create a particular OAuth consent screen within this particular project, in this case, I am not creating another OAuth consent screen apps because this particular section basically define the scope of application, define the accessibility of your application. So you can see this user type. I am not choosing this internal option because this account is not a G Suite account. This is a free Gmail account. That's why I am not choosing this particular option. This particular radio button is only enabled for those users who have a G Suite account. Just I click on external option, available to any user with a Google account. Just click on create. Now you can see this before your user authenticate, the consent screen will allow them to choose whether they want to grant access to their private data, as well as they give them a link to your terms and services and privacy policy. This page configures the consent screen for all application in this project. Whenever you create a particular project, I have an application that is based on Google Drive API. First time when I execute this project, my app can access this application name. Here I am put my application name demo app. You need to provide a particular logo of your application. You can see this supporting email address, that means my Gmail account, rajdeepsarkar365@gmail.com, and the scope of Gmail APIs. Just click on this add scope option. You can see these several scopes are available to permission a particular application. By default, 3 scopes are already available. Lot of several scopes are there. Auth underscore drive. User who can access my application can see my data, edit my data, create and delete all of Google Drive files. That means this permission is only accessible for Google Drive API. You can see this auth drive.app data. This particular scope is only accessible, view and manage its own configuration data in your Google Drive. You can see this particular scope auth underscore drive.file, view and manage Google Drive files and folders that you have opened or created within this app. If you want to know more about these particular scopes, I have created already a particular video. Just go and watch this particular video on my YouTube channel. So I just click on cancel button. And after that, authorized domain. So what is authorized domain? If you have created a particular application, it will be published on a production server, and production server has a particular domain. Your application can accessed by a particular domain, suppose www.abcd.com, you just provide this particular URL, and your application have a home page, your application have a privacy policy link, and your application have a terms and services link. Those are individual links you need to provide, but those are optional. You may be provide or you may not be provide in this section. So OAuth verification, it is the very important things. Create a particular application, you have to publish this application on your production, you have to access the Google data. So Google service provider can also access your application. You have to request them to verify your application. You can say this particular OAuth developer verification to protect you and your user. Your consent screen may or may not be verified by Google. Without verification, if your application is not verified, your user will be see a additional page indicating that your app is not verified by Google. So why we need this kind of verification? Because your application type is public and you add to sensitive scope of verification. Maybe your application can access a secure data. This is the very important things. Verification is required if your application type is public and you add a sensitive scope. Verification may take several days to complete and you will receive an email update of its process. So what is unpublishing? Even though your consent screen is unpublished, you can still test your application with your users in the following limitations. What are the limitations are there? So now I am going to my browser. The limitations are OAuth grant screen, token grant rate. Your current per minute token grant rate limit is 100 grant per minute and it will be reset every minute. Your current per day token grant rate limit is 10,000 grants per day. So those kinds of limitations you have to face if your application is not verified. So before your consent screens and applications are verified by Google, you can still test your application with limitations. So just click on this learn more option. You can see this unverified app. If your application is unverified by Google provider, in this case, 3 warning messages will be appear. First is unverified app screen, security checks, and unverified app user cap. So this is the specific options. This app is not verified. This kind of security information because Google is not verified this particular application. Okay, and security checkup. Why the security checkup? Security checkup might show up your app as risky and unverified. When an app is unverified, it has not fully completed the OAuth app verification. Depending on the sensitivity of data being requested, verification might require several months of an application to complete it. So you can see those kind of warning, this kind of warning, this kind of warning, and last you can see this kind of warning. So unverified app user cap. To protect users and Google system from abuse, apps that use the OAuth and cloud identity have certain quota restriction based on the risk level of the OAuth scopes and app users. I hope you have cleared all those things. So I just click on save button. Now you can see this my demo app is created and the verification status is not published and user type is external, and you can see this lot of limitations are there. Now I am go to my presentation. So I just go to my next slide. Authentication to Google API. So this is the most important things of this particular video. How to enable those credentials to access those APIs. So there are 3 kinds of credentials are there. First is API keys, second is OAuth 2.0 client ID, and third is service accounts. So first I am go to API key. It is the least secure option to authenticate Google APIs. Your application can communicate with any Google API. In this case, your application use this particular API key. This is nothing but a particular base 64 type string base key, which means that It is not enough for certain application. For example, if you want to authenticate Google Drive API, in this case, only API key is not enough. You need to use OAuth 2.0 client ID along with this particular API key. So both key are required, API key and OAuth 2.0 client ID. So don't worry, I will explain in my next slide what is OAuth 2.0 client key. Basically, those two keys, API key and OAuth 2.0 client ID, is used for front-end based application. If my application can access any Google resource, in those cases I am using API key with OAuth 2.0 client ID. Now I am explain OAuth 2.0 client ID. If you need to use to provide permission to your app, you can use this OAuth 2.0 standards credential key. This will ask the user to authorize your app before you will able to make the changes during any APIs. When you create a particular application, and this application obviously access the resource of Google APIs. In this case, when I am start my application first time, or if you have any modification done on this particular API, every time this will ask users to authorize your app before you will be able to make changes using any APIs. This is necessary for front-end based application and certain APIs such as Gmail APIs, Google Drive API and Google Map API. You can also use it as a server-side application. In my previous video, I have accessed this particular OAuth 2.0 client ID to access the server-side application. When you create this particular OAuth 2.0 client ID, automatically provide a particular JSON file. And this JSON file have some content. Those are client ID, that is called OAuth 2.0 client ID. Second option is project ID, that means the project name in which this particular client ID is created. Third is auth URI. You have to access those API using this particular URI. At the time of generating token, first time you have to access this particular URL, that is called token URI, or you have to call a particular any kind of certified URL. In that case, you use this URL, or this is the particular unique ID Google will be generated for us for this OAuth 2.0 client IDs. Third option is service account. The final option is service account, a special type of Google account used to represent a non-human user. This is the best solution for us to control the Google Drive, Gmail using a server-side app. This service account we are using only for server-side application development. Obviously, it's provide better security. This service account also provide a particular JSON file, and the content of this particular JSON file is that type service underscore account. Project ID in which this particular service account is created. Project name. Private key is another kind of unique ID. Client email, this is the particular service account ID. This particular name is divided by something. Your name in which your Gmail account is created. At the rate, this is my Google project name .im. This is common for all .gserviceaccount.com. Now we can see this client ID. This is the particular unique ID. Auth URI, that means in which my application can access Google services. Token URI, I already told that when my application first access particular resource, and at that time my application need a particular token. After I am getting a token from Google server, I have to do any further communication. In this case, I have to use this particular URL. Only for token request purpose, I have used this particular URI. That means token URI. Also, if you have requesting a particular certified URL, in this case, you have to use this particular URL. You have to keep watching my YouTube channel. I will explain each and everything in very great detail in my upcoming video. I just close my presentation and now I am go to my browser. Now I have to create some credentials for accessing Google libraries, that means Google APIs. Just click on credentials. You have seen these three kind of credentials are there: API keys, OAuth 2.0 client IDs and service account. I have already explained each of those things. So now I am create on this particular option, create credential. By using this option, you have to create API key. Just click on API key. And this particular API key is automatically generated by Google. you can see this particular warning options before this particular API key name. Restrict your key to prevent unauthorized use in production. So just click on restrict key. Why these particular yellow warnings are there? Application restrictions. An application restriction control which websites, IP addresses and application can use your API's key. You can set one application restriction per key. Right now you can see this. My API key credential has no restriction. Selected as none. It will only be accessible from iOS app. Okay. And click this particular option, restricted key. A particular drop downs are there. Just click on this particular option, Gmail API. So API key 1 is only accessible from this particular platform, iOS application, and this particular API keys is only applicable for accessing Gmail API. So this kind of security provided by Google. That means create a particular dedicated API key for this particular platform and for this kind of API. Just click on save button, and moment I click on this particular save option, this yellow color warning option will gone and new tick green option will be appear before this particular API key name. And after that I have created a OAuth 2.0 client ID. Just click on this particular section and click on OAuth client ID. Now I have to choose what type of application I have used to accessing this kind of credential. So I have a particular web application. Name is web client 1 and my web application is running on localhost. In this case I have provided my local host IP address. Or if my application run on a particular domain, in this case I have provided this particular domain. Add multiple domain for accessing this particular credential. One of my subscribers and many of people just asking me, your application is run on only on localhost. You need to provide your URL. That means you have an application, you must have a particular domain name. You need to provide your domain name is here. The way this particular credential can recognize your application. You have to add multiple domain name and use the same OAuth 2.0 client ID. I don't need to provide any kind of URL, just click on create. Now you can see this, your client ID is created and your client secret ID is also created. You can copy this by clicking on this particular option, just click on go, and you have to download this particular JSON file. And this JSON file have this kind of content. Go to my browser. Now I have to create a particular service account. You can create a particular service account, just click on this particular option, create service account, or you have to click on this particular option, manage service account, and create new service account. So first you need to provide the service account name. Here I'm typing a particular service account name, service account. You can see this particular service account name will be added before this particular domain address. That means @new project. New project is my Google project name, and after that it will provide a auto-generate a particular numeric address. This is nothing but a project ID. If I am click on this particular section, you can see this new project is the name of this project and this is the ID of this project. New project -283820 is the ID of this project. It will provide the ID of this project. After that separated by dot. After that IM. After that separated by dot, and after that gserviceaccount.com. This portion is common for all who have created this particular service account. You have to put your service account description, and this option is not mandatory. Just click on create button. Now your service account is created. You have to specify the role to access this particular service account credential. Provide a owner role to access this particular service account and click on continue. My service account, it will be treated as like a particular Gmail account ID because I will provide a owner permission to this particular service account credential. Now we have to fill up some optional information. grant user access to this particular service account, and those are optional. That's why I'm not fill up those things. Just click on done button. Now you can see this particular service account name. You have to use this particular service account in your application to access the Google services. Now I have to go the main menu. Just click on credential options. So you can see these three different types of credentials are already created: API keys, OAuth 2.0 client IDs, and service account keys. Basically, those two keys are used for front-end based application, or you can use OAuth 2.0 client ID for your server-side applications. Mainly, the service account credential is used for server-side applications for accessing Google resources. I hope you like this particular video. Thank you for watching this video. Next video, authentication using service account. That's it for today.